Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Dala Creative TV. Today, I am going to start painting a portrait inspired by Frida Kahlo on the beautiful collage background I made 2 weeks ago. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is take a piece of charcoal and estimate where I'm going to paint the face, where I'm going to use the skin tone. And I'm just going to draw the outlines because I want to block this area out with gesso so that I can paint my face over it. Because I'm working with charcoal, and if I made a mistake or didn't draw the line right, I can quickly rub it out with a wet wipe. Now I'm going to cover this whole area where I want to paint her face with gesso. Okay, so I'm not going to cover the whole bottom part with gesso because I actually want some of this background to form part of her garment or her coat. So I'm only going to cover the areas more or less where I need the paint to be opaque. Okay, so I'm ready to draw in her face with a pencil. I'm not too concerned that it looks exactly like Frida. I'm drawing a portrait inspired by Frida. So I'm just going to follow my instinct and just draw the face in. The unibrow is quite a significant feature of Frida Kahlo, and whether you draw or paint a whimsical character or a realistic portrait, whichever style, if you paint a unibrow, then everybody will know it is inspired by Frida Kahlo. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to just use the flesh tone color on the tear of palette paper, and I'm just going to paint a layer of this paint over my whole face. Okay, so while I'm waiting for that to dry, I am just going to put a layer of black over her hair, and later on I will do all the blending. So basically what I'm doing is I'm putting a solid color down just to start my first layer. One of the reasons why I put a solid color down as my first layer makes it easier for me to paint, as a white can be a bit intimidating when you want to start shading and blending. So I like to just get the base color down onto my canvas before I paint. With her coat, I'm going to do some blending while I put my first layer down, because I want to use some of the texture and some of the patterns that I put down in my collage as part of her coat. So I'm not going to cover all of it, and in this case I am going to do a bit of blending with different shades of blue and just follow my instinct and just paint and see what it will look like if I keep the background. On this side, I'm going to do exactly the same. I want to keep this doily pattern, so instead of painting over it, I'm just using a wet wipe and just rubbing some of that some of the acrylic paint over it, because I don't want it to be white, but I want to keep the image. So I'm just thinning out the acrylic paint with the wet wipe and just rubbing over it with my hand. I love painting with my hands. Okay, so I actually painted the jacket the way I wanted. I've put some shadows in, and I've blended the paint with my hands. I don't want the paint to be opaque on her jacket or her coat. I want the background to shine through, because it forms part of this mixed media collage painting and the style that I'm painting in. So I'm just going to finish this blue paint because I don't want to waste it. And then I'm going to leave it at that, because I want all these layers to dry completely before I start the actual painting of the skin tone and doing the blending and everything. So I hope you enjoyed this week's lesson, and I can't wait to finish this painting with you next week. Bye for now.